Hi, everyone. Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So Billy is here tonight. It's Sunday, of course, April 26, 2020. The title of the live stream is Silver or Gold. And I get a lot of questions about whether if someone has gold and doesn't have much silver, if they should sell their gold to buy silver. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. I'll wait for people to come on. We've got 73 people, 30 thumbs up already. We've got Full of Hope. Hi, Full of Hope. Gary D. Khalid Hack. Hi, Brandy. Ben Gray. No. GISMI. Maneco 64 for president. I think Billy would make a better president. Yeah. So I'll just wait until more people come on to talk about the silver gold question. 903 Boulder from Michigan. I've been, hi, Graham. Nice to see you. The Maneco 64 world community. Yeah, that's right. It's becoming more and more of a community. I've been reading a little bit the papers. I usually don't buy them, but with what's going on, I've been buying the papers a bit more. Pabar, can you interview Steven St. Angelo? Well, I'll have a look. I'm not sure who he is. I think you've mentioned that before. Rocco Report. I'll have a look. So yeah, I bought the Daily Sunday Telegraph today. I've read quite a bit about what's going on. I still think economically, financially, we're going to continue to see everyone trying to get money from the state. And all that will do, of course, is hurt savers. It's going to hurt the average person, because when this happens, the influential people, the big guns, they always get helped out, even though I have to say it looks like Virgin Atlantic is not going to get a bailout, which is good. I don't think anyone really should get a bailout, but that's another story. So yeah, we've got quite a few people. Simon, David Nar. Hi, David. Yeah, so yeah, there's enough people here. So my view on silver and gold is that you always try to get as much of both as possible. If you want to trade the ratio, I think you should do it on paper, i.e. through the futures or the ETFs. I don't think you should do it through physical. And why is that? Well, because I think if you increase your physical metals holding, the better it is for you, and and it's also a good way of fighting the fraudulent fiat money system. So yeah, the only thing I would say right now, if I had to buy metals, and I have been buying a little bit, is that I've been buying more silver. So that's what I would be doing, and I think it's all quite personal as well. But yeah, silver definitely has a much bigger potential, but you have to be careful with silver, because silver will act a little bit like the cryptocurrencies. It's going to be a lot more volatile. So you got to make sure that you don't have that much that will make you feel uncomfortable. But it's going to be wild, and if you sit through it, I think you'll be rewarded. Typical Brian, thank you for the super chat. Hashtag gold teeth. Okay. I'm gonna put a link here. Someone sent me this video. It's called Dr. Erickson COVID-19 briefing. I don't want to talk too much about this COVID, but we'll talk more about the markets and the economy. But I think this is really interesting. I think people in general are starting to wake up a little bit to this engineered crisis. I've always said that I think this is an engineered crisis, pretty much like the oil crisis from the 70s. And it's interesting because even though this is mainstream media, the Sunday Telegraph, this lady here, Janet Daly, she's written an interesting editorial. She says experts will lead us into dystopian world of inhuman mass paranoia. So actually, that's good news. I think that the mainstream media is actually starting to question the way the politicians have handled this crisis. She says here at the end, for the moment, the country is being sold the epidemiologist's picture of reality with relentless efficiency. The government is famously following the science advice, and the broadcast media is going with it big time, led by the 24-hour news channels, which are running around the clock. Plague TV, since the epidemic is their only subject, they are filling many of the empty hours with horrific mini documentaries filmed in intensive care units, which recount in terrifying detail the agonies of patients who are unlikely to survive or who have been miraculously and against the odds saved. And she says, you might argue that this is perfectly justifiable function of television journalism under the circumstances, but the fear that is being encouraged has probably led directly to the deaths of heart attack and stroke victims who are now afraid to go to hospital. And this is the interesting point she makes here. Had there been a similar glut of film productions over the past decade featuring, say, the deaths caused by sepsis resulting from antibiotic-resistant bacterial infections contracted on hospital wards, a similar panic might have ensued. So I actually think this is encouraging that people like the Daily Telegraph have started to question this. So it has. So sometimes we need to read the mainstream media to see the mood of the country. What is in my golf bag? I think you asked me that question last time. I got new clubs last year. I had old clubs for a while. So I've got tailor-made irons, M6, and wedges, and I have a 4 to sand wedge. I would have liked the three iron, but the guy who the professional who fitted me said I should have a rescue, so I have a rescue and a 4 wood. My driver though is a Cobra F9, I think it's called. So and I have an old putter, a Ping Pao from the late '80s, very old putter. So that's what's in my bag, and I use Titleist Pro V1X. So I'll stop at that. Because not many people here are probably interested. Cupid Stunt, Marion Billy, everyone, greetings from Warrington. Hi, Cupid Stunt. Pat, how is the gold retail supply in London this weekend? I don't know about the weekend, but I think the last time I spoke to Gold Investments, it's not bad. It's picking up again, the supply. They're still very busy selling to the public. The silver, I think they're low on 1 ounce gold Britannias, but I've seen that some of the other dealers are still not operating. But it looks like the government is kind of from what I'm reading the last few days, they're trying to ease in. The end of the lockdown, they're allowing businesses to start working. I've noticed from going out to walk at the park that I notice more traffic, more people going out. So I don't think they can keep people locked down for much longer. When will the US dollar crash like oil did? Well, I'm not sure that will happen. Yeah, that was a unusual situation for oil. I think it could happen again, though, in June with the June contract, unless the economy start running again. I think that's going to be hard. Tobias Stoltz, he's asking in Portuguese, do you think it's a good idea to buy land in Brazil? Um, well, definitely if you've got foreign currency, if you're in the UK, or if you have dollars, or if you have even reals in Brazil, it's probably a good time to buy land. Excuse me. Because land always holds its value. I know Brazil is a big country, but I guess depending where you buy it. So yeah, I think it's not a bad idea, but long term, not as a speculation, because I think the Brazilian currency is going to go lower a lot more. We've gone from 5,000 reals per troy ounce about 18 months ago, and now we're at 10,000, and I think it's going to go higher, the gold price. David Bradley, thank you for the super chat. Hi, John Meyer, nice to see you. Graham thinks dollars going down October, November. Yeah. McDonald's, yeah, McDonald's drive-through, I think, is going to open again. Is going to open in the UK. My sister, I was talking to her. She's in Switzerland. They're starting to reopen slowly. My sister and my brother-in-law, they own a hotel in Switzerland. They're not opening yet, but they're going to do like a drive-through as well. They're going to sell stuff outside the hotel. People want to buy food. They're sick and tired of just eating at home. Mr. B, hi, Mr. B. Pabar monetary history videos. Yeah, I will. I will. Belang P. Sorry, Belang P. Hi, Paul. What are your thoughts on the COMEX changing the rules recently, allowing 400-ounce bars? Yeah, I read a few articles by Ronan Manley, and he caught them basically not lying, but they said that they were allowing 400-ounce bars, but they actually didn't have any. And I also read that you're gonna be able to like basically divide it into four. Um, I think it's more like it's not real. I don't even think they have that much gold. These are all eligible or registered. And Ronan Manley said that the eligible is just gold that is somewhere in the world that they could potentially get. And he even said that the registered gold is just paper warrants. So yeah, I don't think it will change much on COMEX. I think they're trying to calm the market down. That's my opinion. You're welcome, Tobias. Yeah, it's very important drive through McDonald's, isn't it, John Meyer? It's essential. The sound of some. Yeah, I think if you have a lot of paper money, you need to try to get out of it. And yeah, I think the price of gold is still a bargain, especially with what the central banks and the governments are doing. It's going to get worse, I think, because I think in last week's live stream, someone asked me what I thought was going to happen to the economies in the next month. And I said, well, the statistics are going to be even worse than people think. And lo and behold, we saw this past week, the economic statistics were really bad. PMIs in Europe and the US, retail sales in the UK was bad. So I think it's going to continue to get worse. And they're going to start borrowing more, continue to borrow more. The Fed's going to keep printing. So the only way for gold and silver, or the only way for the paper currencies, is to go lower. Is the simple law of supply and demand. So the fact that you can still buy gold and silver is quite a good thing, and I don't think it's any way, uh, it's not too late at all. Look at what happened in Venezuela, and I recommend you watch Bellin P's video about Venezuela. Bellin GP, his channel, he did a video about 18 months ago on that, and the price there went from like, it was trading between 10 and 14,000 bolivars per ounce, and then all of a sudden it traded up to 30 million. And then if you'd gotten out at 30 million, a few months later, you would have been wiped out because it went to 300 million. So the fact that you can still buy it for a few thousand, for just 1,400 pounds or $1,800 is still a very good deal, in my opinion. Samantha says gold you can buy because it's up so much and people cash in, not realizing that it's not a drill. Take advantage of their lack of knowing. That's true. There are probably people out there who are selling it because they think it's not going to go higher. Pretty boy Troy 555, thank you for the super chat. Target price and purchasing power of 1 ounce of silver. 1 ounce of silver for an acre of land. That sounds reasonable. I think property prices are still really high. They can come down a lot. I would say, in terms of reset, I would look at the Dow gold ratio. If we get down to 1 to 1, then I would expect maybe the gold silver ratio to be around 20. So that gives you an idea. Not sure where let's say we're at Dow 9,000, gold 9,000. Then, you got silver maybe at, let's say, not about 500, well, 500, $700. Who knows? Yeah, $500, $450 silver. But yeah, that's what I would look at the Dow gold ratio. I think that's going to be important. And from there on, the gold silver ratio should be below 30, I would say. If someone's saying here, ABBA, if the pound drops to 114, I think that's the lowest during Brexit. Well, recently the pound dropped to 114 versus the dollar, and then the Fed helped the Bank of England. They did swaps, but the lowest ever for the pound was in 1985. I think it was just below 105. No asks percentage gold and silver. Gold, silver, and cash a person should hold in a perfect world. Well, in a perfect world, you wouldn't have paper cash. It would just be gold and silver. But I know what you mean. I would say hold very little cash, just enough cash that you need to pay your bills, and the rest is up to the individual how much gold or silver they hold. And I would hold, as it's like savings. You hold how much you think you need in savings in terms of gold and silver. David Bradley says the national debt clock has gold over 20,000. Yeah, I mean, that's just a speculation. It could go a lot higher. I think in 1980, when gold went almost $900, that was 135% of the Fed's balance sheet. So that was a bit too much. So that's the other way to look at it, to see how much gold the Fed holds, the gold certificates, and see where their balance sheet is. And if they go 100% gold backing, you do the calculation. Or they could go, I think the UK, when the pound was the reserve currency of the world in the 19th and early 20th century, I think the gold backing of the banking system was 33.3%. In the US prior to 1934, the gold backing was like 50%. So there you go. Grass cutting, do you think most gold stocks are 50% off record highs and gold futures only 10 off record high? Why? Yeah. Well, usually gold stocks, mining stocks lag the gold price. And why is that? Well, because investors are probably still not convinced about the gold price. And it takes a few months for the higher gold price to translate into higher earnings for the mining companies. And that's why. But eventually they will catch up. Phoenix XFP, thank you for the super chat. Where do you see UK house prices going? Yeah, I think they're going to go a lot lower. I think we have a problem with the buy to let. I've been reading recently that they are having problems. Commercial property, especially, I think is going to get even harder hit. But buy to let, a lot of the landlords took a lot of debt to buy these places, and they depend on the tenants to pay the rent, and then they take that rent and pay off their mortgage payments every month. And I think that's all going to break down, and you're probably going to see a flood of properties on the market, especially the buy to lets. And also, a lot of people, of course, borrowed a lot of money to buy their homes. If you had, is that a million or 10 million? So you want a million. If you had £1 million cash, would you put it all in gold and silver, and why? Um, well, if I had £1 million right now, I would put maybe buy another property somewhere else, somewhere warm, so my wife and I could spend the winter there. I would do that. Maybe in Florida. I have family there, and the rest, yeah, probably gold and silver. Maybe leave a little bit in the bank, not much, very little. Yeah, maybe other things, but that's about it. Maybe redo, do quite a bit of work. My house is fine. We did a lot of work 5 years ago, but I would do a bit of work around the house. That's what I would do. Yeah. John Meyer, thank you for the super chat. Luke Groman had an interesting view on how the stock to flow ratio in gold meant that downward price manipulation can go on for a prolonged time. Yeah, I haven't looked at that. I mean, the stock to flow ratio in gold is 64 years to 1. That means for every year of gold supply, there's already 64 years of, I think, gold. That's how it works. And that's why gold is money. The stock to flow ratio makes the gold price very stable. You won't see what happened to oil happen to gold, in my opinion. Maybe in the futures, but I highly doubt it. So that's why gold is money, because all the gold most of the gold, well, 99% of all the gold that's been mined is still above ground. But I haven't really seen Luke's interview. Manipulation can go on for a long time. I'm not sure. I think gold is starting to look good. I think we're close to going to test the old all-time highs in gold, in dollars. I did a video this morning, which I wasn't going to do a video today, aside, on top of the live stream, but I did something about the Brazilian real, a technical analysis. And then I compared the chart of the Brazilian real versus the dollar to the price of gold. And I said that we could go to 1900 soon to test the all-time high. And we actually might not break out and make, bigger moves higher, we could, how can I say, form a little teacup handle, because it looks like a teacup formation if you look at the gold chart going back to 2011. And yeah, we could be between 1900 and, let's say, 1950 and 1750 for about a year before going higher. But we'll have to wait and see. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna get rid of gold. I think we just hold it as an insurance, and I think it will still protect people. And we started the year at 1550 in dollar terms. That's the other thing people forget. People keep saying the dollar is really strong, but the the dollar is down this year versus, money, which is gold. Might be higher on the dollar index. Yeah, I haven't watched that video. I have a look, George Gammon and Groman. Yeah, I think people. Yeah, I mean, I talk about the gold price and we talk about COMEX, but we should maybe just focus on how many grams we can get, not get too tied up on the price, and be patient. If you have an income, if you're in good condition financially, yeah, keep stacking, I would say. Yeah, count yourself lucky, I guess, still that we can exchange paper for real money. What precious metals have a better upside? I would say silver, of course. Silver is still highly undervalued. I don't really follow the other ones, palladium and platinum or rhodium. They're more industrial precious metals, I would say. Do you see Fed meeting on Wednesday affecting the price? Not really. This Fed meeting is like almost a non-event because the Fed has been doing so much in the last 6 weeks since they had their previous meeting. It might have a little impact. Usually, gold goes a little lower going into a Fed meeting, and then it goes up after that. I think when gold bottomed in November or December 2015, it bottomed the day of a Fed meeting back then, and then from then on it just kept going higher. So yeah, we could go down into the meeting a little bit. Yeah, Sean Hopkins. I've done a video about a month ago or so. Yeah, the drop in the stock market is a lot quicker than in 1929. I listened to I think his name is Michael Oliver. He was on King World News. He actually called the crash quite well um, earlier this year, and now he's saying that we're not going to get another big crash, but he thinks we're just going to keep going down very slowly for the next 12 to 18 months. It's gonna be like someone put a pillow on the market's face and just kill the market. He doesn't see too much volatility. He just sees a gradual, move lower, very painful. Just reality. Silver is being hugely pulled down by industrial demand. Why you're downplaying this? Well, I'm not downplaying it, and it probably is, and it's also manipulated. But I think silver is gonna be a lot more important as a monetary metal. That's why, yeah, and it might be, being demand for physical might for industrial uses might be going lower, but I think the demand for it as a monetary metal will overwhelm, the drop in the demand for industrial use. IMF director calling for a debt cancellation. How would that influence the economy? That cancellation, I guess, it would help the debtor nations or whoever they want to help, but it would hurt the creditors. So probably wouldn't be great for the economy, and it would probably, how can I say, hurt economic prospects. Investors wouldn't have much confidence. I'm not sure about gold, what that would do. I don't think it would change it too much. I guess technically that means there's less fiat money in the system. It could hurt gold, but it depends how much, what they're talking about in terms of, if they're gonna forgive $5 billion in Africa or something like that, it's like a drop in the ocean. The Fed creates that in a minute these days. Uh, Ariel Lugoma is buying U.S. Treasuries a good investment. I think it's more speculative than an investment. I think, there's good price potential on the upside in the 30-year bond, but the rest I wouldn't touch. I think, it's like trying to buy, it's like trying to sell treasuries back in 1980. They were very low, but it was the bottom. I think we're more near the top of the treasury bond market in terms of price than we're near bottom. So, and if you want to get a little bit of income from treasuries, you're not going to get much, but buying 1 month or 3 month T-bills, that's quite safe. And if interest rates go up and you've got T-bills, it doesn't matter because you can always reinvest that at higher rates. And the 30-year, there's still a bit of room on the downside in terms of yield. So if the yield drops, that means the price goes up. So yeah, I'd probably buy the 30-year and very short term, but nothing in the middle. AK Steven thinks UK is going to be a disaster zone. Yeah, we have a lot of debt in the UK. John Meyer, he enjoyed the interview I did with Paul from Belling P. Yeah, like Paul did an interesting video today as well. It was about reserve currencies, comparing the dollar to the other reserve currencies and how far along we are in terms of the lifespan of the dollar system. And I think that was a good video. Gold will open, in about an hour and a half, the gold futures. Mr. B says smash the like button. Phoenix FP40, the UK government doesn't print money. It's the Bank of England and the commercial banks that create the credit or the money. The UK borrows the money. Right now, they've got this Ways and Means facility, but it's the Bank of England basically giving them the money, lending to them at no interest. They could do that. That used to be the prerogative of the state to issue the money. Unfortunately, the bankers have taken over for a long time. I think they tried to do that in the beginning of World War One. There was a treasury official in the UK called Bradbury, and he convinced the treasury to issue its own notes. It was called the Bradbury pound, but the bankers weren't very happy, so that stopped. And why is that? Well, because the bankers always want to lend. They think they're God, that they can create this money out of nothing and lend it to the government, to the taxpayer. So we have to pay the bankers. We have to pay them for the for the privilege of using the money they create out of thin air backed by us. It's a completely screwed up system. But yeah, the government really, I would say, should provide a service for minting money, like the U.S. Constitution says. Like if you go to Wales and you mine some gold, you should be able to take it to the mint, and then they'll mint sovereigns for you. That's the how it used to be. No, Boris Johnson will be back to work tomorrow. Yeah, I know. Considering FLEBAs, yeah, the dollar is at the center of the system. So if the dollar hyperinflates, everything will hyperinflate. Boris Johnson back from holidays. Yeah, he probably went on holidays. That's right. John Meyer, let's see. Industrial demand may have dropped for silver, but production of silver has also diminished supply. Yeah, that's right. I think I think Hecla Mining, they shut a mine a few weeks ago. I'm not sure if they reopened it. Yeah, that's right. So that's a good point. I didn't mention that when the other guy asked me about silver. If you're holding crypto and it's universally valued in US dollars, what happens when the greenback plummets in value? Bitcoin 100,000. Yeah, I mean, it will. All the other currencies, Graham, are going to also not be worth much. So yeah, you could have 100,000 Bitcoin and a 100,000 pound Bitcoin. You're just going to have to you'll be able to use very little Bitcoin. Let's say the price of coffee is like a thousand $1,000. You're going to be able to use a tenth of your Bitcoin or 100th of your Bitcoin to buy the coffee. You got the Satoshis, right? You don't have to spend the whole Bitcoin. I hope that answered your question. Patrick, thank you for the super chat. Patrick L. If the central banks go to a digital and back world crypto dollar, I think metals will still go up, especially if they don't back it by anything. I wouldn't put my money into a unbacked crypto dollar. Just because it's a crypto doesn't mean it will be worth anything. The governments, you see, central banks, they won't put a limit like the Bitcoin has of 21 million. It will be unlimited. So I don't think it matters. Either way, if they back it by gold, gold will go up because they're going to have to back it by a very high price to get the system right. But if they don't back it, I think people are still going to hold on to their gold and get more gold. Yeah, Ronnie, physical silver, real silver is not really the price we see on the screens. I agree with you. Hi, Mike. Mike from Sacramento. Hope everything's okay in California. There's a good, I'll put it on again here. And there's a good doctor from California, Dr. Erickson. He's done a really good press conference about what's going on, not only in California, but around the world with this crisis. I recommend this video. JZW21, love your content other than precious metals and stocks, or have you any other? Right now, all I've got is gold and silver, and I have some cryptocurrencies. I used to have mining stocks up until last year. uh, even though I'm thinking about maybe getting some mining shares, mining stocks. I think they could move quite, they could do quite well, but I haven't decided whether I want to put it with a broker, my money with a broker. But I would say a good way to find out which mining stocks you should buy is looking at prospectus from places like Sprott Asset Management. They put their holdings publicly on their website, and other funds. Look at the GDX ETF, see what stocks they hold, or you can just buy the ETFs. But you might want to do a little bit of research and buy specific companies. Ariel Lagoma, gold royalty. Yeah, it's an interesting concept, gold royalties. Um, I mean, and it depends. I mean, the mining stocks, you got the junior mining stocks, the big companies. Um, I think the royalty is quite steady and it follows the gold price, but you can get more upside with the junior mining stocks or exploration stocks. States filing for bankruptcy in the USA. Um, yeah, I guess the states cannot issue their own debt, their own money. So I think a few years ago, Illinois issued IOUs, but I think we could see the Federal Reserve bail them out. So I'm not sure. I haven't really looked too much into it. It's possible, though. I think they are there. There will be a lot of states that will be in trouble in the next few months. Yeah, Illinois. Yeah, that's always been a troubled state in terms of debt and pension liabilities as well. Uh, Check your Hive wallet. What's a Hive wallet? Uh, oi oi. Sorry, I'm not sure. Is that a cryptocurrency, Hive? I don't think I have a Hive wallet. Please explain. uh, AJ Arch, should I average down silver? Yeah, I think I don't really think too much about the silver price, even though the last time I bought it was a few weeks ago when silver dumped to $11. I thought, oh, I have to get some, and even then, it was difficult to get, something really cheap and get the silver. I look at silver, yeah, dollar cost averaging. Just whenever you have a little bit of extra fiat, I wouldn't worry about the price. I think over the long term, it will do its job. Lily, Robin, I agree with you. Things have changed, and I think a lot of people are buying into this new paradigm. Well, it is a new paradigm, and I think we've never seen the world economy be shut down for months like this. The consequences are going to be really bad. You've got the global supply chain as well. Our economies are so interdependent. That's going to get hurt. And we got so much debt as well. So I agree with you. And that's why you need to hold on to your metals, because the only way they will react to this, the politicians and the bankers, is by creating more and more debt, which is their funny money. They think it can solve all the problems. Full of hope, thank you for the super chat donation. Hive is Doug Casey's venture. Very quiet. Okay. Doug Casey, yeah, I mean, he's an interesting guy, but I think a lot of the stuff, I have subscribed to his stuff before, but yeah, anyway, Hive. Facial surveillance will be the next thing, SW. I think also these tracing apps, I was reading in the paper today, the government is here in the UK. They're encouraging people that need to do the test. People who work in the public sector or NHS. They're encouraging these people to take this app and send out for a test, and then you send it. You do the test and you send it to the lab or whatever, and then they put in your app. If you're positive or negative, and I think that's a backdoor way to to keeping track of people. And I think a lot of people, not even people who are in the public sector in the NHS, they're going to want to do it, and so they're going to be buying into their own surveillance. So I think you got to be careful with these tracing apps. Oh, John Meyer, you contacted Peter Morris. That's good. Yeah, he'll definitely be able to help you. Eric Alberto to USS markets created this week. Um, I was talking about this analyst. He was on King World News recently. He was on King World News before the market crashed quite sharply in March, and he called it quite well. And he thinks we're not going to have big crashes anymore, but it's going to be like a water torture. It's going to keep going lower for the next 12 months, 18 months. He doesn't really know what target in terms of price. So, yeah, we could have a drop this week, but I think the crash was in February, March, the big crash, and I think that's what happened in 1929. We crashed from the top in September to a low in November, and then people thought it was over, and it did rally up until April or May 1930, but after that it just went down and ended up bottoming in 1932, and it was down almost 90% from the top. Paul Flaman, thank you for the super chat donation. I appreciate it. Evander Farson said he spoke to Peter Schiff on the phone for 20 minutes. That's nice. Yeah, I saw that BlackRock is working with the Fed. No conflict of interest, of course. Yeah, they did dump a lot of milk and also, food during the Great Depression. They thought that could raise the price. It's crazy, wasn't it? I mean, people starving and they're getting rid of food because they want the price to go higher. 2000 Hive crypto. Yeah, just let me know where I can find the wallet. How many years will be depression? I think the depression really started in '08. Yeah, and why do I say that? Because the vast majority of the public has been, their standard of living has gone down. I know we're supposed to have had good employment, but a lot of the employment and the unemployment rate went down because a lot of people went from having one job that paid fairly well and gave them benefits to having 0-hour jobs, part-time jobs. So, yeah, it could go on for another decade, even though it looks like I think the powers that be are trying to foment some kind of conflict with the Chinese right now. I think that's a danger. We saw that the last time there was a Great Depression, it ended up eventually with a major war. Let's hope it doesn't happen. You're welcome, Tony Yanone. Thank you. Full of hope. uh, says she'll buy Mario's hive. Well, I just need to know where I can find it if I have some, because I didn't know I had some, and that I had a wallet. Where are the safest places? I don't think there's any haven these days. I mean, and if they are quite expensive places. Like New Zealand is a place where a lot of the very wealthy have bought property in the last decade. Switzerland, but Switzerland's expensive as well. It might come off the property market in Switzerland. And I guess if you have European passport, it's a lot easier now to go to Switzerland. But maybe South America, Brazil and Argentina. I know those countries have a lot of problems, but if you have a decent, you know, amount of capital, you can live fairly well in those countries, and you can find nice places there. South of Brazil is very much like Europe. Well, not completely, but it's a lot better than like northern Brazil and Rio and the big cities. My topic today was silver or gold, basically. Um, and what I wanted to say about that is that a lot of people ask me, should they sell their gold to buy silver because gold is so overvalued relative to silver? And my answer is no. Just keep both of them, and yeah, maybe favor having silver now, buying silver, because silver will do better. It will be more volatile. So yeah, that was the topic really. But I don't think you should get rid of your gold to to play the spread. If you want to play the spread, I would do it in the paper market. Uh, Ernie asked, "Can I make a video in Portuguese?" Um, yeah, I don't. I mean, I made a video in French. I speak a little bit of French a couple of years ago, and they had the yellow vests. But I could, but we'll see. I mean, because I'm in the UK and my videos are for English speakers, so if I do it in Portuguese, I might not get any interest. We'll have to see. Yeah. June 12th, 1776. Why do people consent to their unalienable liberties, wages, labors be stolen by monetary theory from government employees, generation after generation? This is more important than gold and silver, no? Well, of course, it is more important than gold and silver, But having gold and silver is a way of protecting yourself from, the state. I don't know why people are not aware of it. They're brainwashed. The governments have hijacked education. And that's why. That's the reason why. I mean, I agree with you. And that's why I try to deal as little as possible with the states. But unfortunately, they're so ubiquitous that it's very difficult to get out of the system completely. One world currency, I don't think we are going to have a one world currency. What we'll have is multipolar monetary system with maybe the dollar, the euro, and the yuan as the major currencies. But gold will be what will back those three currencies. So I don't see a one world currency. I saw that Trump wasn't too warm on an SDR. So yeah, I don't think it's going to go ahead of one world currency. Thank you, Kevin Cross, for your super chat donation. I hope that answered your question, 1776. Oh, yeah, yeah, okay, I saw that. Thanks. Thank you again, Kevin Cross. What do you think of Panama for living? Yeah, I have looked into Panama, Costa Rica as well. It's nice, but yeah, the weather. I don't like the climate. I've gotten used to the seasons. So, south of Brazil, for example, I'm not from the south of Brazil originally. I'm from Rio, but the south of Brazil is they've got it's more seasonal. It gets colder as well. So I would look at that. Argentina as well. So yeah, Panama, not really interested. And I would say sometimes trying to go somewhere different to escape. People always think the grass is greener somewhere else. I think sometimes you need to realize that where you are is where you're from, and you know the place well, so you can try to fight it better. But you take a big risk of going somewhere else and thinking that it's easier to get by over there, and then you find out that it isn't. So I would think very hard before doing that. Uh, if deflation occurs like Harry Dent predicted, how long will it go on for, in your opinion? I think we've been having deflation since the year 2000. That's if you look at gold is money. And I do. So the Dow reached 46, the Dow gold ratio. You needed 46 ounces in 2000, and now you only need about 13 to 14 ounces of gold. So yeah, we're having deflation, but in gold, in terms of gold, not in terms of fiat. I think it could keep going on for a long time, and then you're going to get the hyperinflation, and that's when the paper money completely collapses. I hope that explains it well. V. Bjorn Gritton, do you think oil exporting country like Norway will be in big trouble? Yeah, I think so, V. Bjorn, unfortunately, but yeah, I do. I noticed that the Norwegian krona has gone down quite a bit versus gold. It was quite steady for a few years, but now it's going the other way. I saw you had problems as well with your sovereign wealth fund with corruption, so that's not good. Yeah, hopefully Norway diversified because yeah, it won't be. I don't think it will be good for the next few years. Maybe it will pick up again eventually. Things always go in cycles, but right now I don't think it's going to be a good time for people. For countries that depend a lot on energy. Okay, you sent me a tweet. That's fine. I'll look at it later. One hour. Whoops. Pablo Peanut, the new stimulus package, I think number 4 for infrastructure spending. Will this be good for metals? Well, I think, yeah, it could be good for the base metals because of infrastructure. It would definitely still be good for precious metals. The more they create, the government creates, the more debt. Yeah. Isam, what is your expectation about silver price 2020? Uh, I think there's a better chance now of getting to 50. I think we already almost got down to 10 a few weeks ago. We got to an 11 handle. So, yeah, I think there's a better chance now of going up to 50. All right, I'll take just a couple more questions and then I'm up to an hour. Numismatics. Okay. I like numismatics, but just for fun, for collecting, not as an investment. Of course, longer term, my view on numismatics is that I'll leave it to my daughter, or if she has kids, I'll leave it to them. But I'd rather have for investment like gold and silver, the bullion. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm sorry if I didn't see some of your questions. I'm getting quite a few more viewers, so it's difficult to see all of them. And yeah, I hope you all have a good rest of the weekend. And I'll talk to you next week. If you're new here and you enjoyed the live stream, think about subscribing as well. Thank you. Bye.